What if I told you that the most dangerous person in any room is rarely the loud one demanding to be seen, but the quiet soul who has been pushed far past their limit? Stay with me because what Carl Jung uncovered about the human psyche might completely shift how you understand empaths forever. Jung believed every human carries both light and shadow, and this duality appears most intensely inside the empath. Most people mistake empathy for fragility, but Jung's work showed something far more complex and far more powerful. Empaths feel life on a deeper frequency. They move through the world sensing emotions others ignore. Jung said the persona, the mask we wear for society, hides the truth beneath. But what happens when someone with emotional depth removes their mask? What appears is not weakness, but a hidden strength born from surviving what others could not. Empaths live inside what Jung called the tension of opposites. They feel deeply yet know how to hold those feelings without sinking. They see lies clearly, yet still believe in the possibility of goodness. That isn't innocence. It's what Jung described as the transcendent ability to hold two opposing truths at the same time. But this is where things shift and why narcissists should be cautious. Jung said the most complete people are those who've confronted their shadow and integrated it. Empaths, through betrayal and manipulation, are forced into this meeting much earlier than most. They understand kindness, but they also know darkness intimately because they've been pushed into it. Narcissists misjudge this. They see softness and assume fragility. They assume control. But those who lead with their heart often develop the strongest inner structure because they had to build it to survive. According to Jung's process of individuation, every person eventually faces who they really are. For many, this process is slow, but for empaths who have been wounded, it accelerates. Pain becomes the fire that burns away illusion and forces rebirth. Emotional sensitivity isn't weakness, it's heightened perception. Empaths don't simply feel emotions, they read them, interpret them, remember them. Every lie, every wound, every manipulation becomes information. When that information piles up, something powerful emerges, the self. And once the true self rises, it cannot be pushed back down. Jung wrote that transformation rarely comes from comfort. It's born through pressure. When something is pushed too far, it turns into its opposite. The empath who was endlessly patient becomes immovable. The one who gave without limits becomes selective. The one who forgave everything becomes final. This isn't loss of compassion, but the claiming of inner power. True strength comes when you accept your shadow, your ability to say no, to walk away, to choose peace over chaos. Empaths don't lose their heart, they find their backbone. There is a difference, Jung said, between reacting unconsciously and responding with intention. Most people react from their pain. They lash out, seek revenge, or try to hurt back. The evolved empath doesn't. They operate from conscious choice. They don't need to break their betrayer because they've already won the inner war. Jung believed the greatest victory is not conquering others, but conquering the parts of yourself that want to destroy you from within. This is the moment narcissists realize their mistake. Manipulators depend on predictability. They need you to chase, explain, defend, or prove. But when an empath reaches psychological autonomy, those games fail. The empath stops engaging, stops explaining, stops reacting. Jung said the most powerful stance is calm detachment rooted in understanding. The awakened empath doesn't pull away out of fear. They step back because they finally see everything clearly. Jung's study of psychological types showed that empaths usually have dominant feeling functions, not emotional instability, but emotional intelligence. They sense dishonesty, notice subtle shifts, and perceive manipulation before it unfolds. And when this sensitivity combines with wisdom earned through suffering, something new forms. The empath stops reacting from hurt and starts moving from power. They begin strategizing instead of absorbing. Their emotional clarity becomes a guide. The transcendent function Jung described allows them to hold tension without breaking, to see truth without becoming bitter, to choose response over reaction. The empath who has walked through fire develops this strength in ways most cannot imagine. They become whole within themselves. They stop looking for approval and no longer measure their worth through someone else's eyes. Their validation comes from within. Jung wrote about psychological mirroring. Empaths naturally reflect the energy given to them. But once they've been betrayed too often, they stop reflecting and start revealing. They see through charm, false apologies, and manipulation. Instead of absorbing toxicity, they reflect it back, not with anger, but with truth. And Jung believed truth is the sharpest weapon against deception. Then comes the return of the repressed. The empath's hidden power rises, not loudly but clearly. They stop arguing and begin deciding. They stop explaining and start acting. They stop trying to fix what refuses to heal. Removing themselves becomes an act of strength, not coldness. This is individuation in motion, the claiming of one's own inner authority. Jung said, the shadow doesn't only hold darkness, it holds unused potential. For empaths, that potential includes boundaries, the power to choose, the right to protect their peace. Betrayal forces them to reclaim these forgotten parts. When they integrate this strength, they don't become less caring, they become more discerning. Their empathy becomes sacred rather than expendable. Jung believed the most powerful individuals are those who transform pain into wisdom. The awakened empath is the perfect example. They've seen the worst sides of people and emerged refined. They understand manipulation because they survived it. They recognize gaslighting because they escaped it. They can identify emotional predators because they once trusted them. This is not paranoia. It is earned awareness. Eventually, the empath becomes whole inside themselves. They stop proving their worth, stop apologizing for boundaries, stop giving energy to those who only take. They reach psychological sovereignty, ownership of their emotional world. True power, Jung said, comes when a person no longer needs others to complete them. The awakened empath no longer pours their light into emptiness. They practice conscious connection, choosing honesty, respect, and balance. They become what Jung described as an individuated soul, balanced, grounded, aware. These people are not loud, but they are unshakable. They do not seek revenge. They outgrow the battlefield. They no longer fear solitude because they have become their own home. Jung believed that those who have faced their darkness and integrated it become forces of nature, not destructive but unstoppable. Their wounds become strength. Their heartbreak becomes clarity. Their compassion becomes a choice rather than a weakness. They cannot be manipulated in the same way again. They cannot be broken by the same tricks. This is what terrifies narcissists. Someone who has learned to love themselves with the intensity they once reserved for everyone else. The empath's journey from being drained to being whole is not just personal, it is psychological evolution. They descend into their own shadow, retrieve the pieces lost there, and rise transformed. They become soft yet strong, kind yet discerning, open yet protected. They are calm because they have confronted chaos. They are gentle because they have known deep pain. They are powerful because they rebuilt themselves from the inside out. Awakened empaths turn wounds into wisdom and heartbreak into deeper understanding. Their boundaries protect their inner light. Their love is no longer desperate but steady. Jung taught that individuation, the merging of conscious and unconscious, creates wholeness. Empaths embody this. They embrace both beauty and darkness without running from either. They stop searching for someone to save them because they have already found themselves. This awareness becomes a quiet confidence, a presence that speaks without words. They stop arguing with those committed to misunderstanding them. They live their truth with calm certainty. This is not perfection, it is integration, the unity of heart and backbone. So, when you meet an awakened empath, understand you're standing before someone who has risen from their own ashes, someone who discovered they were whole all along, someone who loves not out of fear, but out of strength. They are living proof of Jung's greatest insight, that even the deepest pain can be transformed into personal power. If this message resonated, share it with someone who may need to remember that their pain too can become their awakening.